Welcome to Technowits. Hope all of you are doing well. Yeah, I'm getting good responses for the channel. So, I got 312 subscribers. So, still, if you are watching the videos and not subscribing, I'll request that you subscribe because we will put more technical videos on this channel. And in fact, today I'll discuss about setting up an Active Directory architecture, forest, domains, and DNS. So Active Directory heavily depends upon the DNS. So it is very important, and as you know, in my last video we discussed like FISMO roles, and there was an introduction video, and then we discussed schema master. Now, while working on this schema master video, I figured out if the architecture is not correct. What happened in the last video is whenever I ran like get AD domain or get AD forest commands to find out the domain architecture and uh, forest architecture and domain controllers which are holding FISMA roles and domain level FISMA roles. So it was all one machine. It was always showing one machine because at that point of time I only had one machine in my architecture. So generally companies do not operate like this. So I have kind of tried creating, because based on the resources which are available on my machine and how many virtual machines I can put, based on those, I have tried creating architecture, and I'll present you with my whiteboard. So this is the current architecture I'm working on. So there is like forest root. So this is my forest, and this is, I will say, this is my domain tree, and this is also a domain 2 tree. Okay, now in every, like at forest level, I have two DCs, DC1 and DC2, and domain level I have two DCs per domain. So the domain is thepoemstory.com and other domain is byqs.com. So it is like you can keep your names. These are the domains that I own, and in future I'm planning to create videos because I hold Office 365 licenses, so videos on um, like integrating AD with Azure or any cloud identity provider. And keeping that in mind, I'm creating all these architectures. So in this video, we will look at the architecture of the forest, domains, and mainly the DNS, right? So if you check this architecture, this DNS server is currently not domain joined. So this DNS server is actually not domain joined. Okay. Now, if you understand it like this. Now, suppose you go inside your office. So, who provides you the DNS server as soon as you connect to your office network? So let me minimize it, like not minimize, like make it smaller, and then I'll let you understand like how this architecture would work. So when you enter your office, you connect through the LAN. So suppose this is your complete architecture. I'll say I'll mark it with the red pen. So complete. This is your office network architecture, or how your office servers are configured. And then to your desk, there would be wires coming, like, right, and like these wires will come to everybody's desk, or you connect through Wi-Fi. So suppose this is the Wi-Fi connection. So you bring in your laptop or a PC. So let me laptop. Let me get an image. It will be better to understand. Copy this image. Okay, wait. Copy image and paste it here. Paste. And oh, this laptop got a very big laptop. So suppose this is the laptop you get. Here you connect it. Suppose again big one. No, okay. So this is how you connect, and there's I'll connect one laptop through Wi-Fi as well. So bear with me, and because what in my understanding, you'll get a better understanding when I do this. Maybe I'm taking some time here, but yeah, but then I would be able to make you understand better, and even my understanding will improve. So these are the laptops. When they connect, what happens is on the router, or on the server they are connecting to, the DNS server will be defined. So there would be a defined DNS server every machine will have on the router, on the router or access points that you have in your office. You will have the DNS server where your machines can locate the DNS servers. Once they reach the DNS server, then they query about your domain. So actually, you do not need to, on every individual machine, you never need to go and put like what DNS server it will connect. It depends upon the router. So if you have a router, you can connect, you can set up a DNS server as well. So like a point to which your machine will go and ask, okay, I want to look for this forest domain. Can you show me? So DNS server will know where to take you, to which machine to take you. So in this video, we will demonstrate it as well. So let me clean it up. Hope it is like how you understand. So because the things that I'll not do on my router. I can do it on my router, but I don't, because there are already pre-configuration on my router, and I don't want to disturb it as well, because it is very critical for the internet to work. If something goes wrong, then I'll not be able to fix it, and then a router reset will require, because I'm holding a static IP. I don't know whether the company will like, I'll have to call the service desk to set up this static IP again. So we will do it on the VMware workstation itself. So this is a DNS server which is non-domain joined. Currently there are no entries. So when you install the DNS, like when you just have to install a server, like go ahead and install 2012, 2016, 19 or 22, whatever server you install. You go to manage, you go to add roles and features, and you do not need to do anything here. You just need to assign the DNS server, right? And next, 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 and you have to do install. Once the DNS server is installed, you go to tools and you'll see the DNS manager here. In the DNS manager, you see forward lookup zones, reverse lookup zones, trust points, and conditional forwarders. Forward lookup zone is the zone which translates your host like address into IP address, and reverse lookup zone is like which translates your IP address to the host name. So networking, I'm little poor at it, so I don't want to go deep. So if you want to check on networking how the DNS will work, there are multiple channels, multiple videos. You can look on YouTube. Maybe I will recommend some in my description section as well, which you can look for the DNS. All right, so let us start. So this DNS, like this is a blank machine for now, right? Now, every time, now coming to the root DC, this is my forest level domain controllers. Like then I have installed two domain controllers, root DC01, root DC02, and let me log into it. This is not a planned video. I was doing my testing and my deployments, and then I found like, okay, I should create a video that would be helpful for everyone. So, so just trying to put it because I might make mistakes here as well, because it is not a pre-planned video or something to demonstrate. It is a live session which is going on for now, and anything you see, you can tell, like give the comments, or if you want to help me in networking, then please do help me. So these are the root domain controllers, and I have put one domain, the poem story, and there is one domain controller named tpsdc01. This is byq's domain, byq's dc01. So if I show you, because I already configured, if I show you by going to Active Directory users and computers, so if I show you like change domain and browse, so here you see all these three domains, right? And when you try to change it from some of server, it will work, some it will not work. So from root I can go to any other domain. Suppose I go to TPS and go to Active Directory users and computers. So right click and change domain, browse the pub story. If I want to go to byqs.com, so it went there, and if I want to change domain and go back to the root.local, so it will go there as well. However, problem is here. So I created this problem to see if I can fix it. So if you go to Active Directory users and computers and right click and go to change domain and browse and to go to root.local, it won't identify. You see, the domain could not be found because the server is not operational. Why this is not identifying? Because uh, the reason is on every domain, like on every machine that I have configured, is the DNS server. It is going to 16, which is okay. So I go to my, okay, so this is my DNS server, and its IP address is 16, 192.168.1.16. So I'm pointing out like to this DNS server, right, on every domain controller. So if I take you there, local servers, and so okay, so here as well, if you see the the DNS server is 192.168.1.16, and here if I show you again local server and go to this and properties, so you will find that it is the DNS server. So all the domains are referring to this DNS server, which is actually like in case of any organization setup, uh, on these all these machines, whatever the machines I'm deploying, I have to enter the DNS server manually. But if you are working in a organization setup, there would be an access point. There would be like complete network setting, which will automatically route you to the DNS server if you configure those settings in the router. So if you want to see that, like I can log into my router, which is 192.168. So 1.1 and B B S F A, and if I go to status and go to net info, voice IP, subnet mask, IP address. Okay, I take you there, status, user info, Wi-Fi, subnet, and I can take you to WAN. And if you see here, if you see here, see, this is my static IP. You should not have exposed it, but don't worry. This is the subnet mask being used. This is the default gateway, and you see there are two primary DNS and secondary DNS server. So here, actually, like it is logged. I do not have access to open it. It is logged, and on this DNS, secondary or primary DNS, you can use the IP address of your uh, DNS server that you have configured in your environment. And whenever there is a traffic and when you try to search something, or a machine enters the network and it tries to join a domain, it will go to the DNS server, and from there it will get the information about the domain to join, and from there it can connect. So that is how in organization it is set up. So basically in that page where I went to set up the DNS server, I can go to primary DNS and set the IP address 192.168.1.16 so that all the traffic will route from that DNS server. But here, when a machine queries the DNS server, so you see no entries there, but we want entries here so that when a machine connects to this DNS server and tries to join the domain, it is actually provided with a service. So how this DNS? How do we configure this DNS? Now, any domain that we add to this infrastructure, it will have its own DNS, right? And on each machine there would be a DNS being maintained, right? So this is the MSDCS root.local. So it provides you the information about all the domain controllers on the machine as an alias. You see the entries there. And root.local is its own. So this service will tell you what are the services this machine is going to provide. So it will provide you the domain, global catalog, because this is the first in the forest. It is the PDC emulator, and this is a domain controller as well. So this value is it will provide, and then it will provide root.local. So if someone is querying root.local, then it will give all the information. So yeah, DNS I don't have too much knowledge, but for the Active Directory to work, I have some knowledge. So let us see how do we do this. So this is root.local, right? This root DC01, it is root.local. So what we will do is we'll go to the DNS server and we'll create a forward lookup zone. Right click and click on new zone, next, and click a secondary zone. Click on next. Zone name will be actually the same as your domain name. So first domain, like the forest domain, is root.local. Forest domain I'm saying is even if it is the forest, It holds the Active Directory domain controller role. So being the first one in the forest, it is like a domain controller as well. And root.local is a domain. So that is why you need to enter this value and the server address. So if I go here and check the address, it is 192.168.1.12 where I'm looking this screen on the root DC. This is one server, right? Put one, okay, 192.168.1.12 and hit enter. So it is trying to resolve. So it is okay. Next. So root DC01. Next. Finish. Right. So now we have root.local. Right. So it says the zone not loaded by DNS server because it is a secondary zone. If it is primary zone, it will be in authority. So you have to go to now back to the domain where you have from which you're trying to replicate this entry. So you have to go to tools again on the domain DNS manager and you have to go to forward lookup zone. Now this is this value we created there, right? So you need to right click on it and click on properties and you go to zone transfers. I have already created it earlier, so edit and first I'll delete it. Okay, apply. Okay, it is there already set, right? Okay, so I'll repeat these steps. Right click, go to properties, go to zone transfer, and now we do not see any IP address there, right? So you have to select only the following servers, or you can like only servers in the name server tab. So you name server, if you go, you can add more IP addresses there, but I don't want to do that for now. So we'll go to zone transfer and only to the following servers and edit. And the IP address for my DNS server is 192.168.1.16. Okay, now it resolved. Click OK. And you sometimes you might need to notify. Apply. Okay. Now you go back to the DNS server. Right click. So this was the domain controller where we configured the settings. Now you go back to DNS server, you go to you still see a red cross. You can actually try like right click, transfer from master. So wait for a while, right click and do a refresh. Nothing works. Do all tasks. So I'll close it and I'll reopen it. So root.local, you see all the entries got created here, right? So whatever entries were there on my root domain controller, you see all the entries here, right? Okay, now we will create this entry msdcs.root.local to understand like, so we'll go to forward lookup zone and right click and click on new zone. Next, secondary zone, click on next, zone name underscore msdcs. I always forget msdcs dot root dot local dot root dot local. Okay, and click next. Now you have to put the IP address which will be 1.12 and it is okay. Next, finish. Right, so it is right. So now you go back here and this forest domain and right click properties, zone transfer. So I'm transferring this zone to all these machines. Or it was already set. So click on OK. Now you go to DNS server and you go to here. Yeah, this is all replicated already. So it has all the information there. So you see all the information is there. So this is how we replicate like uh, all the settings. Now this was the setting from DNS DC01. If you go to root DC02, now what will happen? This root will get the DNS settings from the DC1, because if you're adding this particular machine DC0 to a particular domain, then it will pick up it will the domain will update its IP address as well. So you go to here, and if you go to forward lookup zone, and if you go to MCDS, so you see it has we have not done anything on it, so it has already given you the IP address. uh, okay, so we will see, because I have left two spaces here, and we will deploy domain controllers like TPS DC02 and BIQ's DC01. Okay, all right. Now this, and here you see if there is an entry. Yeah, there is an entry. Now you go to TPS DC01, and this is a repetitive step. How many domain controllers you put? You have to, sorry, domains you put. For all the domains you have to make an entry. So you go to tools and you go to DNS, and here you see in forward lookup zones you have the poemstory.com, which is this domain. And in the DNS server we do not see any entry, so let us make an entry. New zone, next. Secondary zone, next. Zone name would be the poemstory.com and 192.168.1. And what is the IP address? 1.13, right? So if you see 1.13, so I'll put 1.13, finish. So the poemstory.com is created, and let me see. Yeah, it replicated, and give me 1 minute. Okay, so why this DNS server got this entry? Because if you check here on this DNS, I have already zone transfer done a zone transfer. So TPS01, right click and go to properties. You see zone transfer, and I have already transferred the zone on 16. Okay, now we go to buyqs.com, which is the last domain left. Okay, and I go to tools, and I go to DNS, and I go to forward lookup zone, and go to buyqs.com, and go to properties, and go to zone transfer. And so okay, from here as well I'm already doing the zone transfer to all the machines. So let us go to DNS server and create a forward lookup zone. Next, next. Secondary zone, go next, and zone would be byqs.com 192.168.1.15, right? And if I enter next and finish, so you see byqs.com is secondary and running, and if I take you there, so it has already populated all the values. Okay, so now we see if our problem is fixed. So you go to tools, users, and what happened? No, this was DNS server. Sorry. So tools and network directory, users and computers. Now if I right click and change domain, will I be able to change to any domain available in the infrastructure? So let us see. So now you should not give me an error message because there are entries already made. So far no error. Okay, yeah, you see it queried the DNS and it found the root.local. Now right click and do change domain, browse and the poemstory.com and click OK. So it will, yeah, it instantly did it. So now from this machine, earlier there was an error. From this machine I can navigate to all the domain controllers, all the domains. I can go ahead and change the domains and I can navigate to any of the domain and perform action. So what action I can perform now, that will come when I once the FSMA role and all the settings are configured, then we will discuss how do you manage how uh, the different how do you manage like different domains and RBAC roles, like there are administrators, domain admins, schema admins, enterprise admins, and how do you manage those. So if you see, let us talk about, so I will like for DNS and like small info on trust relationship okay. All right, so if you go and check like tools and Active Directory domains and trusts, so you see your all three domains there, right? Any domain you right click and click on properties and you go to trust. By default it is trusting, and this is like a tree root trust, right? Like it is root.local is when we install, we chose the option for a new domain controller, like it would be it will like add a new domain in the forest. When you do this, when you add, like suppose you have this forest is there, when you deploy a machine, right? So I'll show you this option shortly. So any machine that you deploy in this forest, right? So it will ask you options. Options. What will be the options? Like we are using adding a domain in the forest. The time you select the domain in the forest and you provide the forest name, there is automatically a transitive trust that gets created, like a parent, like parent child trust is already created, or you can say it is tree domain trust. Parent child is so this domain will have its own admin, and new domain that you will put will have its own admin, right? So its own admin, but this admin will be the enterprise admin. This admin will be domain admin, so his admin rights will work on this domain, not on the enterprise. But this admin in the forest, he will be the enterprise admin and he can manage this domain as well. So let me show this to you. And it was a short introduction because before I provide, before I provide any expert opinion or any video, so I don't want it to be misleading or misinformation, where I can show you something and it comes out to be something. So now suppose this is Active Directory users. So if this TPS root.local domain is there, so wait, it has done something or what? All right, let's go to this domain. But we need to make sure this is not throwing an error. Okay, so in byqs.com, who is logged in? The built-in administrator is logged in. which is administrator. And if you see users, so there is a administrator and he is a member of domain admin, not enterprise admin. So if you go to users and right click on the poemstory.com, which is the last domain, do you have an option to create new? No. So you cannot add or remove people from like users from here. So if you want, right click and change domain, and we change it to its own domain. So if you can see by queues, and I go here and I see right click users and you see new, and you can create all these values, right? And it has not thrown an error. Coming back to the poem story, so same here. If I go to root.local, I will not be able to create anything. If I go to change domain and I change domain to its own, the poemstory.com, it will load, and then you will get an option to create new computer contact group, users, shared folders, all these options you'll get. Now you go to root DC, which is the forest domain controller, and you are logged in with an account, which is root admin. I changed the built-in administrator account to root admin. So you go to root admin, verify, and this user root admin is an enterprise admin. What you can do from enterprise admin, you can go change domain, you browse and go to the poem story and right click and see on poem story you can create a new user from here, right? So the admin on the forest domain, or you can say like if he is an enterprise admin, he can manage all other domains, but a local administrator on a domain can manage only its own domain. On all other domains, he will have read only permissions. So if it can reset password only. So when we discuss kind of roles in AD, roles in AD in detail, and Active Directory in detail, and after roles, what else? Roles in Active Directory and and roles in Active Directory, and what I was saying, I just forgot. I'm very good at forgetting things. Users, administrators, okay, and how to roles in Active Directory and user management, enterprise admin. Okay, so these things will see, more things will come. Don't worry. So if I have, if I get dreams about AD, I get these questions and then I try to solve them. So don't worry, I'll come up with more. So now, so far, I'm clear with the understanding what you'll get from this video. How a DNS server, how to configure a DNS server so that you can communicate with all the domain controllers in your domain, or you can communicate with all the domains in your infrastructure. So this was it on uh, configuring the domains. I will now show you how do you deploy and the options that I talked about when you deploy a new domain controller, right? So stay like we will do a server installation, and you can skip this part if you have already watched how to install servers. If you are into like more fast mode to install a server, so I'll show it to you. So now we will put a new virtual machine. let me show you how do you add a domain. So this is virtual machine name. I will keep it like test.com because I'll delete it later. Browse, and you can select the folder where you want to save it. So I have server set 2, and there I'll create test tc01. It is created. I'll select it, go next, 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 next. Now here I'll customize the hardware. I'll change the network adapter to NAT0 because all my DC and all my other machines are running on this network segment. So I will, okay, one more setting. You go to CD DVD drive, use the ISO image, browse, and I have saved it here, operating systems 2016 ISO. Okay, click on finish, and this machine is created. Test.com, power on this virtual machine. Okay, so it will take some time to install. We'll fast forward here because if you want to learn how to install a virtual machine on or a server like 2012 2016 on VMware workstation, you can go to my videos. So let me show you. I will go here on this to studio, and there you can see content, and you go to videos. So here you can see how to install Windows Server 2012. This way you can install any server on VMware workstation. It would like will go. Setup is starting up. It will take some time. So okay, standard, next. Just you have to go next, 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 and it will install the server. Okay, I paused the recording. So now it is at 96%, almost done. I skipped the getting files ready, and I'll not skip how do you configure the domain. So that would be another bonus addition to this video. So okay, so I'll restart now. So once it is restarted, it will ask me to put the administrator password. So I'll put the password and proceed. Then we need to install the VMware tools so that all the drivers work correctly. Then we need to set the static IP. After we put the static IP, so in DNS, like because this video is mainly on how do you configure the DNS. So on the DNS, we will add the IP address of the DNS server. So I'll show you. Okay, so what are the steps? Steps to deploy a new domain. One would be install the server. To set the static IP. Okay, it is here. Okay, so it is logged in. Set the static IP, and then step 3 would be install ADDS role, and 4 would be configure active directory, and then we will replicate the DNS settings. Okay, so first we go ahead and install the VMware tools. So we click on VM at the top and click on install VMware tools. Okay, finish. No, I'll not restart it up. Go to local server and change the machine name. It was not required, but I want to change test TC01. Okay. Okay. Close. Do you want to restart later? I want to restart in the end. So I go to ipconfig and I go to cmd and run ipconfig here. And from ipconfig, I'll get the IP address 192.168.1.17. So go to properties, TCP IPv4 properties, and this is okay. Number log. Okay, and the DNS server would be 192.168.1.16 because this is the DNS server. IP address of the DNS server. Sorry. Okay, now let us see the network connectivity comes. Okay, so internet is also there. So this DNS server is replying. All right. Okay. Now, okay, this the IP address static IP is set. Okay, we have renamed this machine. It is not appearing up so far because we need to restart to rename this machine. So I'll go ahead and quickly and restart the machine. Restart. Okay, it is back. We're back. Actually, I see many people are watching it, but they are not subscribing. So I request you to subscribe to the channel so that I keep on giving you more updates. Okay, so you're logged in now. All right, so let server manager load and go to manage, and let us see the local server. The name has changed. This is workgroup. We are not changing it. IP address is 1.17. Go to manage, add roles and features. If you want to add Active Directory role to it, Active Directory, no, Active Directory domain services, add features. It will have a DNS as well. So click on next, next, install. It will not take much time. So it has finished installing the ADDS role. So you can see ADDS and DNS here. Now you go to promote this server as a domain controller. So here are the options that you need to select. Now add a domain controller to an existing domain. If you want this server to be to act as a domain controller for your existing domains, you can select this option, and when you click on select, it will ask for your credentials. So if I put the credentials, okay, so it is trying to retrieve domains in the forest. Let us see what it gets. The server error test DC01 server is not operational. Okay, to cancel it. So you wait. So there you need to provide a credential which is for the forest. So I think I missed it. So let us change it, and we will put it as root admin and put the password. And once I do that, it has taken the credentials. Let me see if it validates. Okay, yeah, so when you provide the credential for your root forest, it will list all these three domains. If you want to add a domain controller, you can just select one. Suppose you want to add it to poem story, you can select it from here and it will proceed. If you want to add a new domain, you select this, and parent domain name is again root.local, and new domain to forest. So to root you can type like test.com, right? And you can proceed, and it will install a new uh, it will install. Okay, here you need to select the tree domains. You need to select tree domain. Forest name is root.local and test.com if you try to put. So okay, so let us proceed with this. We are adding a new domain to an existing forest. I thought I'll pass it, but no, wait, I'll complete this, and that will then you will be able to understand it better. This is how we add a domain to an existing forest. Net BIOS name would be test. next from here. Okay, and it will, like, these are the NTDSS wall. So I have described it in my video on Active Directory. Prerequisite check, install. This is a warning message. This video was supposed to be on Fizma roles, but I think I'll create it some other time. Like, next video would be on Fizma roles. That is a good addition to my videos as well. Like, how do we deploy a domain in a forest, existing forest. And we will see, okay, let it complete. It will take a lot of time, because then it needs to consult all the domain controllers. If I see change domain and browse, so I already see test.com, but it will not work because this machine is already putting all the services. So currently it is as configuring DNS services, right? I will, if I go to DNS and see it has, if it has made any entry so far. So if I go, it has not made any entry for test.com, right? So these all things we need to configure. So test.com is showing, but we will not be able to access it. If I do and try, it will freeze because it is still in the process. Okay, it is done. Asking to reboot the test.com. Now it is added to a domain. This is a new domain in the forest. It is rebooting now. It's taking time. Okay, so it has finished installing the role. We will log into this machine. And we will check, let the server manager load. And we will see tools, Active Directory, users and computers. And here I see the domain test.com. If I go ahead and change the domain, you click on browse, you see all 4 domains listed here. And if I go to tools, Active Directory, domains and trust, so it automatically is trusting test.com. So if I go test.com and properties and go to trust, so it is already trusting root.local. And if I go to properties for root.local trust, and it's trusting all these domains. Now, okay, now we go to tools and we go to DNS, and let us see the DNS. Now here, if I go to forward lookup zone, I see MCTS because we attached it to this forest, which is the root domain. So it replicated the DNS, and this test.com its own DNS. Now we go to the DNS server. Okay, first we need to see, can we access like attribute, sorry, the active the domains, the cross domains. So if I go to bycus.com and click OK, it is accessing, it is able to access it. Change domain. and go to the poemstory.com. It is accessing it because it has its entry in the DNS server. Now, if I go to any other domain, like suppose I go to baikus.com domain and I try to add it here. If I go, first of all, let us close it and reopen it. Close everything. And you go to tools and you go to DNS. So if I see here, the test.com is not listed here, right? So if I go to tools and go to Active Directory users and computers and try to change the domain and click on browse, and suppose from Baikus I want to go to test.com and click OK, it will throw an error that this domain is not functional. Let us see, it is still rotating. It is not able to access. So as I told you earlier, what we need to do is we need to go to test.com. First of all, let us see the error message. So let us see. Sorry for all the background noises because there is boring going on. You, uh, the domain test.com could not be found because the server is not operational. We know that the server is operational, but this DNS does not know whether this service exists or not. So we will go right click, forward lookup zone, new zone, next, secondary zone, click next. Zone name would be test.com. Click next. IP address 192.168.1.17, which is the IP address of this machine. And go to local server and verify. Wait. Yeah, 117. Right. So I have added it here. This is the server. You click on next. Finish. Right. Now you go to test.com. You go to DNS. Right, and you go to test.com, right click and go to properties, go to zone transfers, allow zone transfers only to the following servers and edit, and we want to do a zone transfer 192.168.1.16, and it is coming with a red cross, so let it be. To solve this, you go to notify. First you need to notify the server dot 168.1.16. Okay, the status is okay. Now you go and you click edit and try to resolve it. It is still okay, so just ignore it, apply and okay. Now you go to DNS server and test.com, right click, and it is coming with transfer from master, so you need to wait or refresh. Now it replicated, right? You see test.com has replicated. It has replicated all the entries. You go to test.com and right click, go to properties and go to see zone transfers and click on edit. Now it is green, so the transfer once happened it will show green, so click OK. Now if I go to test.com, close this and go to tools, Active Directory users and computers, and right click and go to change domain. I can change to any of the domains, root.local. Alright, I can change it, change domain, browse poemstory.com and click on OK. So I can browse to any of the domains, and from here if I go to test.com now, it will take a little time, so because the entry is fresh, this time we will not get any error. So you see it resolved, and now we can manage it from here. So I cannot do anything because this is bikos.com domain. And if I change the domain to test.com from the root domain, now I run it, it is connecting now. So if I go here and new, I can create a user because the test domain has the administrator of the test domain is an enterprise admin. So I'll make a note like uh, more on next video. I think I missed here. I need to mention it. Directory. Uh, Domains and trust. So we'll create a video on this as well. Now this DNS setting is done till step 5, and I'll make a point like admins, where we'll discuss enterprise admins, domain admins, schema admins, all these role-based accesses we will describe in some other video. So I hope this video was helpful. If you're trying to set up and test multi-domain architecture, so it was basically a single forest multi-domain architecture in Active Directory. So I'll come up with more videos. Do like and subscribe, share it with your friends. It will help if you're trying to set up Active Directory for your study purpose, for your organization, or you're trying to create a virtual lab. So all these things will be helpful. And if you find that you need help, put it in comments. I'll definitely personally help you. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and share. So do subscribe because I would be bringing more videos. If you like it, just give me a like. Share if you need someone needs like help, or you need to help someone or you want to help someone, and comment in case I go somewhere I go wrong. If comment in the case where you want to ask a question, comment if there is anything I can help you with, like operating system installation, VMware installation, and how do you configure, and with PC specifications. So we'll definitely help you there. Thank you and have a nice day.